This video will serve as a general guide to the Brass Birmingham board game. This video will assume you already know the rules of the game and will focus more on overall strategy. I'm also going to assume that you're playing a 4-player game. Brass Birmingham is an open-ended game that allows for tons of interesting decisions and interaction with your opponents. The main limiting factor in this game is time. You only have so many actions to squeeze out as many points as possible, so focusing on one industry will allow you to reach the higher level tiles and score more points. Let's first look at the different industries. There are 3 resource industries: beer, iron, and coal. And there are 3 shipping industries: manufacturing, cotton, and pottery. For each industry, I took the number of points scored from a flipped tile and divided it by the cost. Just looking at the numbers, the most cost-efficient way to score points is beer and iron. However, iron isn't always a reliable way to score points, since you only get 4 total tiles, and iron can easily saturate the market if multiple players all build ironworks. Beer, however, is definitely consumed at a high rate since it has a mutually beneficial relationship with any shipping industries that need beer to sell. So, easy, right? Beer is just the best strategy and you should just build beer. But not so fast. If everyone builds beer and nobody consumes the beer, the tiles won't get flipped. So someone needs to be consuming the beer with shipping industries. Of the 3 shipping industries, pottery has the best ratio, then cotton, then manufacturing. Just by looking at the cost to points ratio, it might seem like beer is the best resource industry and pottery is the best shipping industry. However, this doesn't give us the whole picture. Let's next look at the game board and see how many open spots there are for each industry. For coal, there are 12 spots. For iron, there are 9 spots. Beer has 11 spots. Manufacturing has 21 spots. Cotton has 16 spots. And finally, pottery has 4 spots. Given the number of spots on the board, it looks like the game is telling us that we are supposed to be building mostly cotton and manufacturing. Pottery does have some potential for points, but the number of available spaces averages to just 1 spot per player. Additionally, the higher level pottery tiles require 2 beer to flip. The amount of time to build your pottery tiles, then get the beer needed to flip all of your pottery is just too inconsistent. Additionally, you would need the other players to graciously build rather extensive networks so that you connect all your pottery to merchants. All in all, extremely situational. Between cotton and manufacturing, the best industry to pursue is cotton, due to the higher cost effectiveness and large point total. A solid canal era strategy is to develop 3 times up to level 3 cotton and aim to flip 3 level 3 cotton tiles. Remember that you can sell as many tiles and industries as you want with a single action, as long as there is available beer. So the ideal situation is to sell all 3 tiles in one action. These tiles would be scored twice over 2 eras for a total of 54 points for 48 pounds and 3 beers. To get this money during the canal era, you're going to have to take out some loans. 2 or 3 loans is normal, just make sure you are managing your income. For instance, you can flip a level 2 coal to offset 2 loans. An analogous strategy for manufacturing will be to develop up to level 5. The downside here is that level 5 boxes require 2 beers to sell as opposed to the 1 beer per cotton tile. This shows one of the downsides of going for a pure manufacturing strategy: the somewhat inconsistent effects of each level of manufacturing and lower point total. Manufacturing should instead be seen as a supplement to your main strategy and situational uses to help get ahead of your opponents. If a player is going for a pure cotton strategy, this allows other players to go for a beer strategy. If you flip 2 level 2 beers and 2 level 3 beers in canal era, this gives you 48 points for 32 pounds over 2 eras. This cost is 16 pounds cheaper than the cotton strategy, but requires an extra build action and relies on all of your beer tiles flipping. If 2 or 3 players are all providing beer and doing the same strategy during the canal era, it's not guaranteed that all of your beer will be used. This reveals the biggest point of tension in the game that makes it fun and intriguing. There's a delicate balance between players helping each other flip their tiles, but also ensuring you come out on top. In my opinion, a good overall strategy is to look at your beginning cards and decide whether it's easier for you to focus more on cotton or beer. As a note, industry cards are better if you have a larger network, whereas location cards bypass the requirement that you build inside your own network. At the beginning of the game, if you don't have any tiles or links placed, you can use an industry card to build anywhere on the board. So if you start off with a cotton industry card, it might be good to use it first to build in a place you otherwise wouldn't be able to. You can also scout with your first action and use a wild industry card to build anything anywhere on the board. For a more beer-oriented strategy, you can use your extra money and actions to provide more coal or iron and expand your network. Links have a huge potential for points. You can also dip into cotton, pottery, or manufacturing if you want to block spaces or control the beer supply. Beer is also used to build double rails in the rail era, so coal and beer are in even more demand in the second half of the game. Someone going a cotton strategy is encouraged to also dip into beer for points and coal for income. You can even potentially overbuild your own beer if you need it to refresh your beer supply without flipping an opponent's tile. Pottery is situational, but building a level 1 or 3 pottery tile is a good way to get points if the opportunity presents itself. Something you can do is build a level 2 pottery to claim a spot, then overbuild later on when you want to. An interesting design detail of the game is that you cannot develop level 1 pottery. This guarantees that some pottery spaces will open up in the rail era depending on how many people end up building a pottery tile. Remember that you can overbuild any of your own industries, but you can only overbuild opponents' coal and iron when there are no resources available both on the board and in the market. Next, let's look at the board to see if there are any spots that you want to build links on. I've written the minimum amount of points if all adjacent tiles are placed and worth the minimum amount of 1 link point per tile, and the maximum amount of points if all link tiles have their maximum amount. Links next to beer are highly valuable as these are guaranteed to have 2 link points per beer tile, and beer tiles are always put in the game. Just looking at these numbers, you can see that locations next to merchants have more building spots and therefore more potential points, Birmingham in particular. We can also see that links have the potential to score almost as much as flip tiles. Try to aim for around 5 points per link if you can. Just keep in mind that building more links allows players to use your network without having to use actions to build links themselves. Utilizing the networks that other players build will allow you to use actions to develop your own industries or scout for more flexibility in placing your tiles. After the canal era, all of the canal links are removed. Because there will be some higher level buildings left over, players can see where there is a concentration of points to be made with new links in the rail era. It's a good idea to grab some high scoring link places early on when you can. Maybe even manipulating turn order so you spend no money on the last turn in the canal era, so you go first on the first turn in the rail era. Additionally, when you build links, you can always build up the number of link points later by flipping your own double link point tiles. Note that double link point tiles are beer 1 through 4, cotton 2, coal 1, and manufacturing 1 and 5. To summarize, I would definitely recommend going either beer or cotton as your primary industry and supplement it with one of the other industries. If you go cotton, it might be good to also build some of your own beer tiles for convenience and points, but if there are already a ton of beer on the board, you can also aim for higher level manufacturing tiles or coal to supplement your own income. Manufacturing has the most places to build on the board, so there won't be as much competition. Manufacturing also has a more utility role and can be used to block other players from building their preferred industry or supplement your own strategy with what you need. Pottery will have the most competition for tile spots, but also has the potential for a good chunk of points. Coal is primarily for increasing your income and comes in demand more during the rail era. By investing in coal, you can potentially save loan actions to do other things. During the rail era, try to snag as many high point links as soon as possible, since building double rails is a great way to score points. Place ironworks when needed, but be careful not to build unless you can immediately flip the tile or have plans on using the iron yourself. There are no hard and fast rules, just try to be efficient with your actions and be flexible based on what other players do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.